up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Long-awaited peace talks between Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Russia's President Vladimir Putin could be on the way. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's already making arrangements, but some analysts are skeptical of the chances for solid results. Gov't reports.
Trump is upbeat on forging peace between Russia and Ukraine, as he offers guarantees for Ukraine's security once peace takes hold. On social media, he wrote that after meeting with Zelenskyy, he called Putin about more peace talks. A first round could see Zelenskyy and Putin meet, and a later second round might see Trump join them for three-way talks. It's not just Trump saying more talks are on the way. Zelenskyy also told reporters that's the plan, although when exactly is uncertain.
We don't have any date. We just confirmed after this productive meeting with the President and then with all our colleagues, with the partners, we confirmed that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposed to President of the United States bilateral, and then we will see the result of bilateral, and then it can be the trilateral.
Ukraine's European allies are also in Washington, urging for a more concrete vision of moving forward. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz says the Zelenskyy-Putin meeting could happen in the next 2 weeks. Despite uncertainty over what that meeting might bring, he shares Trump's optimism about the momentum of talks to end the war.
Ich will nicht verhehlen, dass ich nicht sicher war, dass es heute so verläuft. Das hätte auch anders verlaufen können. Aber meine Erwartungen sind eigentlich nicht nur getroffen, sondern übertroffen worden, was dieses Treffen heute betrifft.
But what might a Zelenskyy-Putin, or even a Trump-Zelenskyy-Putin meeting achieve? The Kremlin hasn't confirmed any future sit-downs. Some analysts, looking at previous rounds of talks and recent Russian gains on the front, have doubts.
Any Russia's claims, verbal, promises of certain guarantees at this point are completely unreliable, given that the Kremlin has repeatedly violated them in the past. So that realization, that's very clear for everybody involved, sort of raises some, I think, justified skepticism as to how legitimate, how honest the Kremlin is really in these promises.
Some even see Russia confident and energized after Putin's recent inconclusive summit with Trump in Alaska, and no more willing to compromise than before.
Trump goes there promising, fire and hell for Russia if it did not actually go along and make tangible concessions. Russia does not make tangible concessions. Nothing happens. Is that the first time? No, it has happened before.
And so, while there is hope of some sort of progress, perhaps a ceasefire at least, there's also a sober realization among those following this war that more difficult discussions are to come. Ethan Chen and Gov't for TaiwanPlus.
And for more on the potential for a security guarantee for Ukraine, reporter Chris Gorin spoke to Keir Giles, Senior Consulting Fellow and Director of the Conflict Studies Research Center at Chatham House.
There's been a lot of talk about possible security guarantees for Ukraine following U.S. talks with both Moscow and Kyiv, even talk about a potential NATO Article 5-like protection for Ukraine. But in your mind, is there any version of this kind of security arrangement that Russia would actually accept?
If it is a genuine security guarantee for NATO that is the equivalent of NATO membership, it's hard to see Russia ever accepting it. And it would also be a reversal of US policy, because the United States too has consistently stated that there should be no NATO membership for Ukraine. So anything that approximates it would be equally unacceptable. If instead, though, it is a sham, if it's a phony, if it's a wordplay that actually gives the impression of being a security guarantee while providing no protection at all against Russia, then you could see why Russia and the United States would both be keen to sign up to it. We have the example of the Budapest Memorandum from 1994, supposedly guaranteeing the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine, signed up to by both Russia and the United States and the UK, but turning out to be completely worthless when Russia challenged it.
If it does turn out to be a guarantee that's purely symbolic, would Ukraine be willing to accept it?
Ukraine will be looking very closely at the small print of any agreement because they see the prior practice where Western powers have come in to impose ceasefires on the victims of Russian aggression. Russia starts these small wars. Western powers want peace. Russia just wants to win the war. And that mismatch of objectives leads to mismatched ceasefire agreements, where Russia is allowed to continue to do whatever it wants, whereas the defender is constrained from protecting themselves.
Is there any security arrangement you can imagine that would be acceptable to both Ukraine and Russia at this point?
There's no arrangement for the long-term future of Ukraine that will be acceptable both to Ukraine and to Russia. Because Russia's objective is to destroy Ukraine as we know it. Ukraine's objective is to survive. Those two are completely incompatible.
A lot of people both inside and outside Taiwan see a connection between the Russian invasion of Ukraine and a potential cross-strait conflict. If a durable security guarantee for Ukraine were to emerge out of these talks, could such a model translate to Taiwan's situation?
Whatever emerges from the discussions between Trump, Zelenskyy, and European leaders in terms of the future of Ukraine and how it can be protected has applications worldwide. Whether it is a triumph or a disaster, this is something that aggressors around the world are going to be watching closely. And anybody that has territorial designs on their neighbors will see this as a template for whether they can be rewarded by the United States for invading their neighbors or whether they will, in fact, face severe consequences from the rest of the world.
That was Keir Giles of Chatham House. Starting next year, Taiwan's government will regularly check whether some key public sector employees hold Chinese ID cards. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council says that will include core personnel in the military, public service, and education sectors. By law, people who hold Chinese ID will lose their Taiwanese citizenship and are not allowed to work in government or serve in the military. The checks are part of the government's efforts to counter Chinese influence in Taiwan. India's foreign minister has called for de-escalation of border tensions between his country and China. That's as his Chinese counterpart arrives in New Delhi for a visit.
This is very important because the basis for any positive momentum in our ties is the ability to jointly maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas. It is also essential that the de-escalation process move forward.
Wang Yi's visit comes as India and China face heightened tensions with the U.S. over President Donald Trump's tariffs. Beijing and New Delhi have long had disputes over their shared border, including a clash in 2020 that left dozens of soldiers dead. But Wang says Beijing is now focused on cooperation. He is set to meet with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday. Just days ahead of Taiwan's decisive nuclear referendum, pro and anti-nuclear groups are trying to gather support. In Taipei, over 500 scholars and experts signed a petition urging people to vote against restarting the country's lost decommissioned nuclear reactor.
所以，只要在今天的台湾多一片光电板，多一座风力发电机，它就会增强台湾在面对紧急状况下，不管它涉及的是战争、封锁或者是天然灾害，在面对这些紧急状况下时的能源韧性。
Taiwan has been nuclear-free since its last power plant was decommissioned in May. Scholars point to health and safety concerns, cost, and competitiveness with other countries as reasons to keep the country's nuclear plants off. Meanwhile, the Taiwan People's Party and pro-nuclear groups held an exhibit in Taipei to urge the public to consider a nuclear restart. The deputy convener of Taiwan's National Climate Change Committee and chair of electronics manufacturer Pegatron says that Taiwan still needs nuclear power for its industries.
核废料是以现代的技术是可以安全的去处理，严密的去控管，是不想做而不是不能做，所以只要想法正确，就什么都正确了。全世界有400多座的核能机组在运作，为什么只有台湾不能处理呢？
The Central Election Commission announced Tuesday that the threshold to pass the referendum is just over 5 million votes in favor, which must outnumber votes against a nuclear restart. Taiwan's digital minister opened the inaugural Global AI Summit by touting the country's role in the AI sector.
Taiwan has been recognized as a forefront in terms of the AI technology development, not only by the hardware, but the entire ecosystem and so on.
The US-based World Innovation, Technology and Services Alliance says that more than 300 researchers and industry professionals from 36 countries are attending the summit. It comes as Taiwan pushes to strengthen its role in the AI supply chain. The government recently raised its 2025 economic growth forecast on the strength of demand for Taiwan-made AI chips, servers, and other hardware. A group representing thousands of Taiwanese tech and electronics companies has revealed plans to build tech parks in the U.S. and Mexico to offset the impact of tariffs.
我们在面对这样的环境底下，是一个区域制造的一个发展趋势。那我们电电工会也在努力，来看看在重要的市场地区做这个实体的 TIMA 的科学园区的建制。
The association's chair, Yang Liu, has said U.S. tariffs would affect most of its member companies, with the quarter expecting a major impact. Liu, who also leads electronics giant Foxconn, has said that Texas is among the top locations being considered for the parks, along with some in developing countries.
我们一定会尽力去争取到，或是这个国家可以争取到的最好的条件。 或是以鸿海集团可以争取到的最好条件。
The announcement came after a TIMA board meeting on Monday. U.S. chipmaker Intel could soon have Washington as a shareholder. The U.S. is in talks over a 10% stake in the company, according to Bloomberg. The government is weighing converting up to $10 billion in Intel's CHIPS Act grants into equity, a move that could make Washington the company's largest shareholder. Intel also got a boost from Japan's SoftBank, which announced plans to invest $2 billion in a chipmaker. Intel shares jumped more than 5% in after-hours trading on the news, despite having slipped more than 3.6% at closing. Residents of a community in southern Taiwan have developed businesses revolving around a native herb, giving a boost to the economy while empowering the community. Aichi reports.
This is one of Taiwan's native herbs, huangjing, commonly known as the chase tree, and is a signature plant of the Ailiao community in Pingdong, with blue-purple flowers among its sharp leaves and woody stems. The plant is not only a food source for bees, it also brings economic benefits to the local community.
它的花，我们把它让蜜蜂来采。那新鲜的叶子呢，可以加入食材，然后干燥的呢，我们就可以把它拿来煮黄金蛋。
The association sells Huangjing-based products including honey, snacks, and soap. They also hold hands-on DIY classes. Its members come from different generations, with elders passing on their knowledge and know-how, while younger members take care of the business side of things.
在家做这个做到足欢喜的，菜园的那个高度就是不会很高，又不会很矮，高度好，老人比较好工作，工作过头脑比较有一个工作给他做才不会那个很快失智。
Besides creating senior-friendly vegetable gardens, part of the association's profits are reinvested in care centers and empowering community members through activities that encourage participation, such as collecting and compiling elderly members' life stories to preserve and share.
在这边呢，让长辈去回忆他以前，从出生，然后到读书，然后到就业，然后到娶妻生子，然后到最后，甚至他最后已经迈入老年的一个生活。在这里面，我们找出他以前的丰功伟业的时候，那长辈的一个心灵，也会觉得说，对，原来我也是如此风光过。
With life here centered around Huangjing, people weave the land and human connections together, binding a unique community and local economy with care and tradition. Andy She and IT for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at some highlights of an annual lawnmower endurance race in the UK. I'm Yvonne. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
more stories from Taiwan and We Taiwan, download the TaiwanPlus app. By the way, this is the mascot, we.